Hey everyone, welcome back again to Point Judith, Rhode Island. Oh, you might be able to see in the distance there, that's the Block Island Ferry on its way making a run to Block Island. If you want to look it up and see where I'm actually at. We're in Lesson 6, Way of the Heart, first book of the Christ Mind trilogy. There are 5 core texts to the Way of Mastery, many other lessons as well, known as the early years. Living practices. There's a series of teachings called the Aramaic teachings. Quite a pathway of teachings. But we're in the formal teachings, the 3 formal years of teachings. These were originally given 1 per month to a group of original students. And the first of those years really lays down the foundation of the entire formal pathway with practices and teachings. And it's called the Way of the Heart, and that's, of course, what we're studying. There are 12 lessons, one to be done 1 per month, ideally. And study suggestions include having your own journal. Whenever there's a sentence that seems particularly impactful or impacts you particularly, you just got to write it down. This is a period of, it's a little hard to describe. It's sort of like an art, the learning of this material. It takes time to percolate into your consciousness, just like any other learning medium that we go through. We're going to go back about 2 or 3 paragraphs, as we usually do. And there's a paragraph that starts with fearlessness is the primary characteristic of mastery. So while you're taking a second to find that, and I strongly recommend following along with the text, it's really, I think it's kind of probably impossible to do this without that, but maybe not. But it's really, again, to really emphasize that the way, the pathway of mastery, or a course, the Course in Miracles, some people ask me, what do they say? What do they say similar? What do they say different? And I'll say, they say the same thing. They say, do the exercises. People probably want to have me stop saying that, but do the exercises, because that's how you really get the benefit of these materials. Transformation, insight, revelation comes through the experiences of applying the exercises, in my experience. So here we are, starting with the text. And before we do, just one breath, 100% attention to the inhale, the air entering the body, and 100% attention to the exhale. Fearlessness is the primary characteristic of mastery. And mastery is not having the great power to make things happen. Mastery is only recognition that what is true always, and there is no other choice. Free will does not mean that you have the right to believe that you can succeed at being other than what God created you to be. Having free will does not mean that you can elect not to take the only curriculum that life is offering to you in every moment. It means only that you do have the right to put it off yet another day, and each time you put it off, you slumber in your suffering. And a paragraph. This may sound a little different from I need do nothing. What Joshua is saying here, and he shared this in a private session with me once through the Way of Mastery channel, he said, I need do nothing is a phrase which is used in multiple different ways as a teaching device. He said, for those who are really wrapped up in fear, I need do nothing can be a very relaxing relief. Oh God, I don't need to do anything. Thank goodness. Then even within the early aspects of teaching of this, in the pathway, he'll say, yes, but also you can hear that a different way, which is that, I must do nothing. So there's the aspect of allowance and surrender, which is addressed later in the teachings. If I'm going to do this, I have to stop trying to do it myself, because I don't know how to do it myself. and I'm going to need to listen to and follow something else. And in a sense, the I that used to be the maker and the doer, needs to do nothing. It needs to stop insisting on being the maker and doer. I need do nothing. He shared with me also that because we have, each of us, built what could be called a path away, taken a path away from truth, away from home, if you will, because of the creative power that we've been given, we need to revisit each step of that journey on the way back. So it's because we've created these structures, we need to revisit them and go through them on the way back. If we've allowed unloving thoughts to live in the mind, they have the power that we've given them. And so we need to learn to reclaim that power from them by stopping giving them our allegiance. So imagine if you took a walk away, and now you need to follow the same pathway back. But as you do, there are these obstacles which are very difficult to overcome. And they can take a long time. But this is what the Course in Miracles says specifically. It's designed to save you time. And this is the way of mastery the same. So if you give these obstacles to the Holy Spirit, instead of obstacles, they become stepping stones. And Holy Spirit has the capacity to condense time. So what might have taken you 1,000 years or 150,000 years to walk away from truth now can be done in an instant, so long as there's surrender, willingness to follow Holy Spirit, and so on. So it's, that's an interesting thing. So what Joshua was saying to me is this: eventually the soul has to kind of get around to the recognition that yes, there's this purification journey that needs to be taken. So in a sense, what he's saying here, having free will does not mean you can elect not to take the only curriculum that life is offering you. And that curriculum, once we commit to waking up, is the curriculum of awakening, of returning back on that path instead of continuing further down on it. So just I need do nothing is one of the axioms of the way mastery functions. Jesus is taught, Joshua was taught on multiple levels to multiple ears, as it were, groups that hear in different ways. He has always done that, taught on multiple levels, and he's doing it with the phrase I need do nothing, both in the Course and in the way of mastery. So he's saying, free will doesn't mean you need do nothing. It doesn't mean that you can elect not to take the only curriculum that life is offering you in every moment. It means only you do have the right to put it off yet another day, and each time you put it off, you slumber in your suffering. So there's some motivation to not put it off. And here we are, continuing with the text. But when you elect to take the only curriculum that matters, when you elect to use the power of your free will to say, now, from this moment on, I will no longer tolerate error in myself. No more games, no more dreams. I am committed to being only the presence of love, for that is the truth of who I am. It matters not the opinions of others who are yet resisting that decision. That's a pretty cool little line there, and I have to admit I've never heard it that way before. It matters not the opinions of others who are yet resisting the decision to turn towards the truth and follow it. That might give us a little leverage in terms of not listening, not worrying about what others think. If they're resisting the truth, then if we're dedicated to truth, Joshua also shared with me in a private session, he said, the only unsafe thing is not to pursue the truth. And that's always been what has motivated me to these teachings, a desire for truth. Yeah. So, okay, continuing with the text. Then indeed, all things under heaven and earth move to support you, to guide you to the right person, the right place, the right book, the right sunrise, the right meadow, in order to assist you in dropping the shackles of the obstacles to the presence of love that you have created as an idol and a substitute for love. And that is why when truly you pray from the depths of your soul, Father, bring me home, you may rest assured from that moment on, it's okay to trust every little thing that unfolds. For though you see it not, what you would call the angels, friends that simply don't have bodies, are rushing around because you have given them the command to do so. Yes, I accept your presence in my life. I turn the whole thing over. Now, each moment is dedicated to healing and awakening the illusory sense of separation from God that once I created in error. Love, how many ways have you sought it? Can you count the ways? Would you dare to try to count each little pebble of sand on the beaches of your planet? For rest assured, each and every soul has already tried to seek out love in that many ways, if not more. You have sought it in a million forms in which you already knew that you could not find it. All because you wanted to perpetuate the insane attempt to try to separate yourself from God. And that is as futile as a sunbeam trying to separate itself from the sun. Indeed, beloved friends, there is only one question you need to answer. What am I choosing in this moment? What have I given mastery over my life unto? What perception, what thought, what feeling? Since feeling merely flows from the thought or the perception you have chosen. What behavior, what action am I choosing in this moment, and does it express the reality of my beingness? Am I busy extending love, or am I busy fearfully trying to grasp at what I think can give me love so that I don't lose it? Look well then upon your parents and your siblings and your mates and your friends. Not one of them holds the power to bring love to you. So what are you trying to get from them? Why do you ever insist that another ought to be conformed to what you believe you need? It is futile, 100%, absolutely positively futile to seek love in relationship with anyone or anything. End of paragraph. Okay, anybody else have massive bells go off on that one? Like, what? It's futile to seek love in relationship with anyone or anything. I'm going to take a second with that. It is futile 100% to seek love in relationship with anyone or anything. I mean, isn't the entire world designed around seeking love through relationship with anyone or anything or someone or something? Again, he says the world is the opposite of the kingdom. So here, this general idea of seeking love in something from something outside of us, that's the dream, that's the illusion, that's what perpetuates separation. Because as long as we think that there is love to be gained from something outside of us, from someone or something, we will value separation, because those are separate things. And if love can be found in separate things, then we want to continue the dream of separation. But he's saying it's 100% futile to seek love in relationship with anyone or anything. Let's continue. It is, however, quite appropriate to extend love in each relationship with everyone and everything. But the extension of that love requires that you have awakened to the truth that the only relationship that truly holds value is the relationship between you as the soul and the Father or God as your creator. End of paragraph. Again, this is really about answering the question, how do we find love? We don't find love by seeking it in something outside of us. You can try. He says we've tried as many times as there are pebbles on the sands of the beach. All because of the insane desire to maintain this sense of separation. Again, because if we think there's something valuable in something separate from us, that's where our completion is, that's where heaven is, something separate from us, outside of us. That pretty girl is going to bring me heaven. That handsome guy is going to bring me heaven. That job is going to bring me heaven. Something, that dog, that pet, that whatever it is, that being part of that country or being part of that war, Something is going to bring me heaven. Having a BMW, whatever it is, having 100 lovers, whatever it is, having $1 billion. Oh, those things are going to bring me love. They're going to complete me. He's saying it is 100% futile to try that. You will always fail. However, it's appropriate and not futile, but it works to extend love in relationship with everyone and everything. That's how you find love, extending it in relationship. But the extension of that love requires that you are awakened to the truth that the only relationship that holds value with you is your relationship with God. Continuing with the text, imagine a light bulb in one of your fixtures that looks out from its little filaments and says, well, I hope the person that just walked in the door is the right one. If I could just reach out and grab them, then maybe my own light would come on. Isn't it a lot easier to simply take the cord and plug it into the right socket? How many times are you going to insist on trying to plug your cord into the wrong socket? Well, that didn't work. I'll try this body. I'll try this person. I'll try this career. Not getting very much juice from that either. Oh, well. Oh, there was a little juice. And then you get angry because it's not giving you enough juice, or gave you juice yesterday but not today, so it must be its fault. There is only one little tiny socket into which you can plug your cord. It's the only one that fits in, and it's the only socket wired to bring you the flowering and living waters of grace. And that socket dwells only within your heart. Not the physical heart, but that which is symbolized by the physical heart, the core of your very being. How many times in each day do you check to see that the cord is still plugged in? How many times do you remember to ask yourself, is my commitment to love, or is my commitment to fear? Fear is the act of disconnecting your cord from the only socket that can truly satisfy you, and running about trying to plug it into someone else's or something else's. And I would ask you to consider this one question as you look now upon the whole of your experience. Has it ever worked? Can it ever work? Imagine trying to hold flowing water in the palm of your hand by squeezing the fingers together. How much are you left with? Doesn't it just run through the fingers no matter how hard you try? It finds the little holes and flows away. You open your hand and there is not enough left there to wet the tongue, and yet each time you have looked upon another, whether parent or sibling or friend or mate or teacher or whatever you have, every time you've looked upon a physical object and tried to plug into that socket to get the juice you believe you need, that's what you're doing. And you literally end up squeezing the life out of the relationship itself. End of paragraph. Okay, I think it's a good time to just reflect on these questions. Perhaps we can relate to this idea that, I have sought by getting good grades, or by getting approval, or by having certain lovers, or by having certain sexual techniques, or by having mastery of the stock market, or by whatever. There's a seeking for satisfaction in things outside of us. And just honestly looking at our lives, is that true for us? And if so, what might work instead? I find that it's where people kind of have confidence and competence in certain fields. They might be really good playing the drums, but they might be really shy talking to people of the opposite sex, of their own age, say in high school. So they tend to idolize that which they're not capable of doing. When it comes to drumming, they know how to drum, so they feel comfortable drumming and showing other people how to do it, and they're joining together with perhaps some other musicians and creating a band and creating music and so on, because they know that they have something to give. So in a sense, it's a kind of a funny use of the word, but they're forgiving in those situations. They're in favor of extending themselves what they're capable of doing. But in social situations, they might be, because they feel uncomfortable, they might be looking for someone to help compensate for that. So they might look for someone who's really good at social situations. But being with that person still doesn't change who they are on the inside. And so it always comes back to connecting with yourself, being true to yourself, being true to your own heart. You might not even want to be good in social situations. It might just be somebody saying you should be. But the key here, and he talks about desire earlier in the texts, the key here is really checking in, what am I committed to? Am I committed to love or fear? And when I'm feeling like I'm incomplete and therefore seeking to get completion from someone or something, you're already living in the fear of being incomplete. But when you learn whatever you want to call it, you learn skills, you learn to connect with your desire and then work from there, it's a totally different experience. My dad was a wonderful guy, an engineer. He passed a couple of years ago. And he could summarize anything in one sentence. And he wasn't really in for spiritual teachings and all this stuff. He said he didn't understand what they were talking about. And I said, well, Dad, I work with a lot of people who have a lot of stress. Common thing, well, in a lot of places in the world, but particularly I think with people who are looking for spiritual help. And I said, Dad, and my dad's a guy who has very rarely done stress in his life. He lived to be a healthy, robust 95. And so he looked like he was in his 70s. And so I thought, instead of asking people who suffer with huge amounts of stress what they do about stress, why don't I ask somebody who has mastered it and doesn't suffer with stress as a result? So I said, Dad, I work with all these people who have a lot of stress, and we try to come up to different answers for it. All these people are on antidepressants and so on. What would your advice be to them? So, and I love this, my dad pauses for a minute and thinks about it, and pauses again, and kind of looks up and he goes, yeah, I don't really know what you're talking about. Love that answer. He doesn't know what we're talking about when we're talking about stress. So he says, I just look at a situation, when there's an issue, I look at the situation and I make my best guess as to what the most practical and helpful thing would be to do to help with the situation. And then I do it. He says, and then no more stress. So this is a great example of plugging in, to your own wisdom. You're not seeking for somebody else's answer. You're not worried about what to do. You make your best guess and you act and try to do something practical to fix it. I know that's not the ultimate answer perhaps to everybody's situation, but it's a beautiful practical answer. How do we plug into our own selves? If to get back to the drummer who was uncomfortable around members of the opposite sex, the thing to do is, that's not a great time to start dating, probably. That's probably a great time to have somebody teach you how to feel comfortable around the opposite sex, so that you're not asking your partner, you're not seeking dependent upon your partner to provide that for you. So get good at it's like, don't join the rock band in order for them to help you teach you how to play the guitar. Learn how to play the guitar first, and then go join the rock band so that you have something to give. And then there isn't the same level of anxiety and fear, and rightly so. You're going to be uncomfortable if you're in a situation you're not prepared for. So a lot of spirituality comes down to very common sense, very basic things. This isn't about magic, but it is about looking within and really looking at, where am I trying to get? Where am I in a relationship designed? It might be with your work, it might be with, career, it might be with spouse, it might be with kids, it might be with parents. Where am I in a relationship where my goal here is to get love or to get something, rather than to have an opportunity to extend love and create together? You can see that this is what we do, right? This is what I've done, certainly. Everybody I know, I think, has. There are relationships in which we're seeking to get love. And if we can just reframe it and see relationship as like this canvas in which we have the opportunity to sort of paint, and that painting, that action of painting, is the action of extending love, then I think our relationship problems go away. And maybe we don't want them to. Maybe we like the drama. But if we do want relationship problems to go away, just see them as an experience, as an opportunity, not to get love from it, because it doesn't work that way, but to extend love to it. And then you experience love within yourself as you do. For me, a beautiful example of this are pets. Somebody said once, if you want to know who your best friend is, leave your dog and your wife or your spouse, your husband, I suppose, in the back of a car in a parking lot for half an hour, and be a half an hour later than you said you'd be, and see who loves you when you get there. But it's the same kind of thing. Like, I think with pets, you can really see this example. People will say, "Oh, pets are unconditionally loving." Well, is that true, or is it that we're unconditionally loving towards pets? So a pet will, when it's being house trained, will make a mess on your carpet or your sofa, and you forgive that, and you think, oh, the dog, that dog, and you take him out and you train him, and you have to keep training him, and gradually, you get around to having it be a more sanitary situation, let's say, but people keep giving love to the pets, because they're saying, well, they're a dog. You can't judge a dog. A dog catches a rabbit and eats it or something. It's like, you like rabbits, but you just like the dog's just being a dog. You can't blame the dog. And so you love the dog unconditionally. Well, the love that people feel for their pets, in other words, they're experiencing love by extending it unconditionally. And that's the experience of unconditional love they're having with their pets. I'm not saying pets aren't unconditionally loving. I'm just saying that people are unconditionally loving with their pets, and that's where their experience is coming from. Okay. Yeah, let's just do one more paragraph. But in truth, when you seek first the kingdom and plug that cord into the socket within your heart, when you remember that you and your Father are one, that only love is real, that nothing else matters, and what you're feeling that might be speaking to you to saying, but wait a second, but is nothing more than the echo of an old habit, and that habit cannot live unless you feed it. Therefore, feed the only habit that matters, the habit of remembering that the truth is always true, regardless of what is passing before your physical eyes, and therefore before your mind. In all comings and goings, in all births and deaths, in all arising and passing away of universe after universe after universe, in the midst of a flat tire or a sudden rainstorm, nothing holds value except your relationship with your Creator. And when you have experienced in relationship with anyone or anything a moment of bliss, a moment of peace that forever passeth all understanding, a moment of fulfillment so sweet and so sublime that no word could touch it, much less express it, what you have experienced is only the flow of the love of God through you. It was not caused by that person or thing. It was caused because, just for a moment, you stepped out of your drama, you stepped out of your dream, and allowed the truth to be lived. Ah, what a beautiful section. Way of Mastery, Way of the Heart, Lesson 6, continues to strike me with its beauty and profound wisdom, the teachings of Jeshua, Christ Jesus for this time. That's what it says, and it certainly seems to prove it to this student. This is David Chalk. Thank you again. We'll talk again.